Hello everyone and welcome to my first video. Please excuse my voice. The only reason I have time to do this today is because I'm sick, so you'll just have to deal with that. Recently I thought to myself, Claire, you're a 20-year-old woman. Why don't you go to the dollar store and buy a doll? Since this is my first repaint, I decided that a dollar store doll would probably be the best way to go, since I didn't want to destroy anything valuable or that would probably be better utilized in the hands of someone more skilled. So let's take her out of the packaging. So here she is. As you can see, she's a dollar store doll. So she's got these two big holes in her back. Her dress isn't the best quality. It's kind of just a few pieces of fabric stuck together. And her shoes are just these pink capsules that are like stuck to her feet almost. So now that she's naked, you can see that there's a big skin tone difference between her midsection, her limbs, and her head. I decided not to do anything about this because the clothes I would make her would cover it up anyway, but you can also see that she doesn't really have any articulation besides her shoulders, hips, and neck. It's time to chop all that hair off. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, you can definitely tell that she's a dollar store doll now. They only rooted around her head and tied it up in a ponytail. This poor girl has been bald the whole time. And now it's time to remove her head from the body. From what I've seen, this can be pretty difficult. No. I tried to go in through this hole in her head to pull out the plugs, but that just wasn't working. So I thought, this hair probably wasn't glued in since it's a dollar store doll. What if I just pull it out of the front? And that worked pretty well. After I pulled out the last plug, I was left with a nice clean bald head. I painted her scalp green to match the hair that I was going to put in, but this ended up being a waste of time because the vinyl on the dollar store doll's head is so hard that when you put hair plugs in, the paint just cracks off. Her face actually reminds me of strawberry shortcake, and I think it's really cute, but this is a repaint, so it had to go. Like I said, this is my first repaint, so I didn't really want to spend a ton of money, so I went ahead and made my own hair rerooting tool out of polymer clay and a sewing needle. As you saw before, the hair is hair extensions that I also got from Dollar Tree. It's a lot nicer when it's brushed out, isn't it? I had no idea if my homemade tool would work, but I put that first plug in, and it did, for about 3 more plugs. Then it broke. So I was left with a weird tuft of hair, and I went ahead and bought a new tool. Like I said, I'm being cheap, so no Mr. Super Clear, just this matte finish from Walmart. If you're thinking, oh, that didn't do anything to help the watercolor pencils stick on there, you're right, it didn't. So I'm just going ahead and moving on to acrylic paint. Just from doing the whites of the eyes, I can already see a huge difference in the watercolor pencil versus acrylic paint. And Scooter likes it too. Say hi to Scooter. So here I am with the eyeshadow finished, the brows and lips, and the eyeliner. And I think it came out pretty nice. There's just one problem. I noticed this little tiny speck, and I thought, I'll embrace it. I'll make it a mole. But I absolutely hated how that turned out. Just goes to show, never embrace your natural beauty. So I wiped it off. I was getting impatient waiting for that tool I bought from eBay, so I remade another homemade one and got pretty far with it. I went around the head and did the part. And finally, that tool came in the mail, and I was so excited to use it, and I put that first plug in there. Wow, look at me go. Amazing. And, yeah, it broke on the very first plug. So I went to Etsy and bought a rerooting tool from the Doll Planet, which I've heard a lot about, and I also went ahead and bought some actual hair from there while I was at it. Oh, and Mr. Super Clear, of course. I decided to try and see if I could keep using this broken tool, and it actually didn't work too badly. I got about half the head done, and let me tell you, I put in so many plugs, and there were still so many bald spots. I mean, look at that. It even cracked the hard vinyl. Trying to put in so much hair, and it just wasn't working. No matter how many I put in, it seemed like every time I parted it, there were so many bald spots. But I got tired of it, so I just decided to settle and glued it in with tacky glue. For the clothes, I'm just using some scrap fabric I had laying around. I traced out her body for the shirt, cut out 2 pieces of those, and sewed them together at the shoulders, inside out. I put it over her neck right sides out and sewed it under her arms. For the skirt, I measured how short I wanted it to be on her, then cut out a pretty long strip, folded it together into little pleats, and sewed that all around. I didn't really like the way that it rested on her. It looked more like a skater skirt than a pleated skirt, so I sewed all the pleats together, and I liked the way that that looked a lot better. Then I sewed it around her waist. I don't really care about making any of these clothes removable, since this is my first doll, and first doll clothes. I thought the shirt was a little plain, so I just painted on this random design. Then I sculpted 2 tiny safety pins out of polymer clay. That's my pinky. They're really small. I painted them silver, and glued them onto her skirt with E6000 glue. For the jacket, I cut out a back panel, 2 front panels, and the little collar pieces, sewed those together along with a side panel that I then sewed under her arm so that it would all stay together. I thought you couldn't really see the collar pieces very well, so I outlined them with some white acrylic paint, and I also made some little pins or buttons with polymer clay, painted them, and glued them on with E6000. For the sleeves, I cut out fabric that would be the correct length and width that I needed, sewed them around her arms, and then sewed them to the holes in the vest part of the jacket. I know I complained earlier about her original shoes being stuck on her feet, but now they're really going to be stuck on her feet, because I'm using epoxy sculpt and sculpting them on. I painted them black and added some silver accents. I thought about adding laces, but then I thought, hey, that's a lot of work, and I don't feel like doing that. So I didn't. So now it's time for that magical moment where you put the head on the body, right? Not really. Remember that mole from earlier? Wiping it off left a huge chunk in her blushing, and putting her hair on left these weird paint specks from when it chipped off. So we're wiping all of that off and using our wonderful Mr. Super Clear that we got in the mail to, oh, hey Scooter, to redo her blush and make her look like she has a high fever. Wow, perfect, just the way I wanted it and intended for it to come out. I wanted her to have a little accessory, so I'm cutting a Q-tip and sculpting a lollipop with hot glue and painting it with red nail polish to make a little dum-dum that she can hold. I'm also going to paint her nails. This was really hard to do because she doesn't exactly have any distinguishable fingers. They're kind of just random lines on her hand, but we got through it. So now it's time to boil wash those bangs down and give them a nice trim so they're not super long. And did that boil wash work at all? No, they stick out and go everywhere, and they're just messy, and her hair is just messy, and it's messy. So I also gave her some little earrings with silver paint, and she's done. She's holding that lollipop in place with some polymer clay to stick it there so it's not glued in there, and I'm really happy with how she turned out. I decided to name her Moody Mandy because, I mean, just look at her. She's obviously a Mandy, she's moody, she's a Moody Mandy. And I'm pretty happy with this little dollar store project that I made, especially considering that it's my first ever repaint. She's actually available for sale on my Etsy, so check out the link below. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.